Leader est Robert Kinkel. Nick, Robert, would you please come on stage? Nick est le nouveau... Hello again. Nick est le nouveau CEO de Google France. And Robert is the vice president, the corporate vice president in charge of content strategy for Google and, of course, YouTube. And Nick will say a few words. And he is going to introduce Robert. And that's you. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup et bonjour à tous. Je suis très heureux d'être ici aujourd'hui pour introduire Robert Kinkel. Comme beaucoup d'entre vous ne me connaissent pas encore, je vais aussi en profiter juste pour me présenter rapidement. Donc, je suis le nouveau directeur général de Google France, arrivé il y a quelques mois d'Australie. Pourquoi un Australien à Paris? Ma femme, elle est française. Et l'année dernière, j'ai pris le double nationalité australienne et française. Quand on pense à Google, on pense d'abord au search. Et c'est vrai que le search a vraiment transformé depuis quelques années. Maintenant, on a search sur mobile, image search, video search, voice search. Search permet de générer des téléchargements des apps, des ventes, des coups de téléphone, de générer des visites en magasin et aussi, nous ne l'oublions pas, de générer des visites sur des sites. Mais il y a des autres grandes évolutions du web. Par exemple, l'émergence de la vidéo en ligne. L'Internet est passé maintenant, et c'était un média vraiment de texte et de données, de liens, et c'est toujours le cas, mais c'est aussi maintenant un média de vidéo, de mouvement, d'émotion. L'usage qu'on voit exponentiel de la vidéo sous toutes ses formes, dans tous les lieux, sur tous les appareils, à tout moment, change profondément la relation entre les diffuseurs, les créateurs et des marques. Aujourd'hui, on voit l'audience rencontre les technologies, les plateformes se développent et les créateurs, les éditeurs peuvent se saisir de ces opportunités, des nouvelles possibilités pour intégrer à la communication et les nouvelles dimensions de créer, développer et avoir des engagements beaucoup plus forts. Il ne s'agit pas simplement de transposer le contenu fait pour la télévision online, mais bien de venir proposer un contenu adapté à ces nouveaux espaces. En France, on voit déjà les succès nombreux, qu'ils soient des jeunes talents comme Norman, des acteurs historiques comme Lina, des sociétés de gestion collective comme la CESEM ou le SACD, et beaucoup ont tiré parti des nouvelles opportunités qui s'offrent à eux. Nous continuons activement à soutenir ces initiatives locales qui contribuent au rayonnement du patrimoine français à l'international. Mais maintenant, over to you, Robert. Je crois qu'on va switcher en anglais pour entendre un peu l'histoire de ce qu'on voit en termes de contenu et l'avenir de YouTube. Donc, over to you, Robert.
Thank you. You have until 9:45. Robert, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. So I apologize, I don't speak French. I speak many other languages, but French isn't one of them. So I'll speak in English. First of all, I just want to thank you for inviting us and allowing us to speak to you. It's a great honor, and I'm truly blessed to be here. I have prepared remarks. My staff prepared a very complicated speech that's impossible to remember, which I usually like to do. But what I want to talk about is the influence of the internet on our lives, and then specifically how what that means in video and the impact on companies. I've lived on the internet in my professional life for the last 13 years, and so I've lived a lot of disruption and a lot of changes, and have a little bit of experience with that, and it's very interesting to see where things are going. When you think about the last few decades, the internet has grown from virtually nothing to over 2.5 billion users today. And it's available everywhere. I mean, it's available on Mount Everest, South Pole, and it's really hard to imagine life without it today. We all take it for granted, but it's really worth reminding ourselves what a force for good it is. Without the internet, children in remote villages, they couldn't learn because they have no books and they don't have a lot of resources. With a few PCs, they're learning more so than ever. Without the internet, people couldn't help each other in crises or mobilize fundraising, such as with the earthquakes in Haiti, for instance. Internet has provided tremendous source of funding for those people in need. And of course, repressive regimes can deny people their... I guess that's my cue.
No, that's me.
Without the internet, repressive regimes can deny people their voice, and it's really harder.
Could you please stick your mic to your mouth?
Closer?
Yes.
Sure. And it's really hard to expose corruption and wrongdoing without the internet. So the internet isn't just making change faster, it is the engine of change. And with the advent of and advances in processors and storage in mobile and landline networks, online video is now becoming as ubiquitous as text and images. In the last 8 years alone, YouTube obviously has become the largest online video destination, but it really reshaped the way information is produced and shared. We're learning, teaching, entertaining, communicating all through video, more so than ever, with many more services introducing video options today, such as the announcement of video on Instagram and Twitter and many, many other services and are to come. The scale is amazing today. When you think about YouTube alone, there's 100 hours of video uploaded every single minute, and every month you have 1 billion people all around the world coming and watching 6 billion hours. And over 25% of those hours are now on mobile devices, which 2 years ago was only 6%. The growth rate of mobile consumption is astounding. There are countries such as Saudi Arabia, South Korea, that have 55% of all of their watch time coming from mobile devices. So we're clearly headed for the mobile-dominated world, even in online video. And technology will just continue to push that very, very fast. So what does this really mean for all of us? If you think of yourself as a user, it's allowing you to get to the content that you want. From the latest installment of Norman, the French vlogger who everybody knows, to the latest video views from French DJ David Guetta, to step-by-step instructions of how to bake French croissant from Chef Baptiste. All of that's possible. Or currently live streaming the Wimbledon on YouTube. Online video is getting stronger and stronger. For the activists, what it means is that in places like Syria or Egypt, there's a direct line of communication to the world, which didn't exist before, that is allowing to show atrocities and help the international community spring to action. For the content creator, it's the access to a worldwide footprint that can not only generate revenue for the creator, but also share culture, such as in the case of French National Audiovisual Institute, INA. Today there are 60,000 videos of French heritage available for free on YouTube anywhere in the world, which is amazing. And since many of you in this room are brand marketers, I think for you, there is this opportunity now to directly connect with your consumers, which wasn't necessarily as easy in the past. And I want to spend a little bit more time on that point. Last week, I was in Cannes at the Cannes Lions Festival and had a keynote on the very same subject, and I was joined by 3 great brand marketers. And what everyone talks about is not only doing branding as big, flashy, creative assets that convey a certain image, but also telling stories and creating meaning, which is even more so important for many companies. And with viewing habits changing and the explosion of availability of mobile devices, more and more audiences and networks are starting to interact with their audience and with your brands. This shift to being able to directly communicate with your audience is a huge opportunity for all of us and for all of you in this room as well. Brand marketing is no longer just a one-way proposition of telling something to people. On platforms like YouTube, as well as many others, mainly social media, you can deepen that relationship with those consumers and engage them. So in other words, consumers now can participate with you. And that's a big change. This participation era is one that is really harnessing this hyper-engaged young community that is very vocal and very influential. We at YouTube started to call them Generation C because they create, curate, they connect, and they're part of communities. It's like 4 C's in the English language. And they truly have come of age with the internet, and they don't understand any other state than being connected and constantly sharing. So in just 7 years, 40% of all major countries, population of all major countries will comprise of this Generation C. Just 7 years. And some countries, again, like countries like Saudi Arabia, today there already are 70% of the country. And it changes the way countries are thinking about themselves and how they behave. I have a great example actually right here from France of brand embracing this. The French brand Orangina knows this very well. They partnered with a French comedy channel on YouTube called Studio Bagel and Golden Mustache and created an incredible 14-minute short film called Cuts on Cut, Mission Cuts on Cut, which targeted the Generation C. And they gave these two channels complete creative freedom to work together and come up with a comedic narrative about the fate of the internet. It was very, very funny. It was filled with popular cultural references and a phenomenal cast. And the film was released 2 weeks ago, and already it has 2.5 million views, and it's rising very, very rapidly. It's a great, great success. And what's really compelling is that over 200 press outlets covered them, and a lot of TV shows gave them free airtime. So it's an incredible example of a great brand like Orangina, who is engaging with this Generation C and co-opting these users to amplify their message. It's also important to realize that for many of you, this audience may not be your audience for your products and services today, but they will be in the next few years. So it's really important to start working on co-opting this experience, this audience. They define what's cool. They're the tastemakers. They want to create the headlines of tomorrow. But the internet also brings complexity with itself. Audience fragmentation is one of those great challenges that we all face, and that's inevitable. One famous music executive told me once, he was the former CEO of Motown Records, he told me, today our industry is about collecting a lot of pennies in a lot of different places. And he's exactly right, because audiences are fragmenting all around, and great services, great brands, they have to find the audiences in all of those places. People have unlimited amount of signals coming at them all day long from their mobile devices, iPads, TVs, everywhere. And it's really difficult to get someone's attention. So breaking out from the clutter, directly connecting with an audience, is going to be the skill set of tomorrow, because the number of signals will just continue to rise, and people will be more and more distracted, and audiences more and more fragmented. So I believe that one of the greatest skill sets that companies should start building and continue to build over many years is the director-consumer skill set, where somebody builds a very deep connection with consumers and is able to break out from the clutter, which is only increasing. And I think it's important to find partners and platforms that can allow you to do that. And Google and YouTube are certainly examples of those that can provide that. If I speak a little bit more specifically about YouTube, one of the greatest things that it did, it actually removed the barriers to entry of distributing video. When those barriers existed, when you have closed systems, generally those with great scale win. That is the reason why United States over the last 70 years has exported its culture so well, not because of propaganda, but it was good business. Had great scale, so it was much easier to distribute all around the world and spread the culture. Small countries like the Czech Republic, where I grew up, had stood no chance at all. There was no scale to exporting its culture. Today, that's no longer true. It's absolutely possible, even for Czech Republic, to do that. But what's important in order to take advantage of this level playing field is rich content creation history, because unless you create content, there's nothing to export. And most countries don't actually have that. There are some, but most don't have it, and therefore, despite this level playing field, they are still importing more than they're exporting in terms of their content. Unlike France, I looked up the numbers yesterday, and I was actually very, very happy to see that France represents 3% of all watch time on YouTube, but at the same time, content in French on YouTube represents 3% of the content. So France is actually leading the way in showing exactly how it should be done with all other countries. And I think, and the second statistic is that all the French content on YouTube is actually, 60% of it is watched outside United States, outside France, which is amazing. So it's actually very effectively exporting its culture and its content. And now this is going to be my favorite example to tell countries which have the deficit that how it should be done. And again, I think it's all caused by the rich creative history of this country that without really focusing on it, it just happened organically that France is leading the way in content export through YouTube. You know, deriving income from outside your home country is incredibly valuable. And there are a lot of things that we at YouTube do to enable that. And a lot of people tell us, what does it mean that you're enabler of all these things? And there are many, but when I think about the major investments that we as a company do to enable this rich economic exchange, it are really 4 things. One is massive investments into infrastructure. The fact that YouTube works all around the world fairly seamlessly is a result of just massive investments over many years, which will continue because of the expansion of online video. So infrastructure is one of those things we don't talk about too much, and we invest very, very heavily. Providing access and monetization on all kinds of devices. When YouTube works on your mobile device, your TV, your iPad, and it has ads in it, there's tremendous complexity to make it work there in the first place, us having to work with electronics manufacturers and then incorporate our ad products, make sure it all works seamlessly. There's a tremendous amount of staff enabling all of that work all around the world. We're investing greatly in growing our content partnership staff all around the world. We have people in 25 different offices around the world tending to the needs of partners in all regions of the world. And most importantly, we're investing into global ad sales force that is bringing the much needed revenue for the content creators. 11,000 people all around the world, just unbelievable staff, allowing people to drive income. When I look at it from the point of view of someone creating a piece of content in New York, YouTube suddenly enabled monetization in Turkey. Tremendous amount of work goes into enabling revenue from Turkey, and suddenly the person halfway around the world is deriving income from the country that they otherwise could never see a single penny from. So a lot is happening on our side. I mentioned I grew up in the Czech Republic behind the Iron Curtain. I could have absolutely not imagined the life that I live today. I could not have imagined standing here in front of all of you, talking to you. And it's just, it's amazing how fast the world has changed. And when I think about the role of companies, such as Facebook, Twitter, Dailymotion, YouTube, Amazon, Google, all of these companies and their impact on all these changes, making the world a lot smaller, a lot more connected, but especially a lot smaller. It's tremendous. And for someone who came from a completely different regime to completely opposite regime, and seeing both sides of the world, and when they were so far apart, disconnected, and now what the lives are and when they're connected, it's a tremendous impact. And I think that impact is all for the good, and it's improving lives of a lot of people all around the world. It constantly reminds me of how do we think about the future? What do I tell my children when they're asking for advice about the future that I actually can't imagine really so well? Most of us, we think we can imagine the future. It's pretty hard. If you think back 20 years, most of us couldn't have named all the things that are happening today and predicted it. And so how do you prepare for the future where that you don't really know? And I think some of the most important things are being nimble, being truly able to handle the unknown, which means nimbleness, flexibility, flexibility being one of those greatest skill sets where if you're working in the same ways, whatever, and the world is changing around you, it's impossible to drive change that takes advantage of all the secular trends all around you. And one of those is what I mentioned before, which is direct connection with an audience, with your customers, and molding your message and your brand with them is the greatest opportunity that most of you have. And now you have platforms that allow you to do that so that you don't have to depend just on a few, and you have more options. So I'm proud to be part of one of the companies that is one of those platforms that enables that. And I'm very, very thrilled to have the chance to talk to you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dobry den, Robert. And just a few questions. Right now, the leading broadcasters, the leading television channels and audiovisual groups are getting through hard times because of the economic crisis and also because of this transfer of not only the audiences, but also the budgets from the brands to the digital media, such as YouTube, not only, of course, and the search, etc. And do you think YouTube could become a competitor of a mainstream competitor for broadcasters?
So I think I mentioned before, I've been working on the internet for internet companies for 13 years now. So I get this question a lot, right, over the last more than a decade. And I spent 7 years before YouTube. I spent 7 years at Netflix, building the business and building the streaming business. So we're constantly in the sort of disruption phase. I think you have to look at what the service, let's say in this case YouTube, what the service does and what the attributes are. And when I think about YouTube, I actually have gone as far as making a statement that YouTube is the least competitive platform to television because of 3 things. One, the first screen for people, for the television industry is the large screen, TV. For YouTube, within 2 years, the first screen is the mobile device. Today, it's already 25%, it was 6% 2 years ago. It's on the same growth trajectory. So the first screen for us, for YouTube, is the mobile device. The second reason is most content on television is well-defined formats, and generally they're longer, right? Half hour or more. On YouTube, the formats are undefined and generally are shorter. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. There's some long-form content, but majority of the content is short form. So second reason is format is completely the opposite. And the third reason is the audience. Audience on TV is mostly, on the average, it's people like me and older. And on YouTube, it's my daughters and slightly older. Right? It's much younger audience. So when I think about all of the other online video services, they are much more competitive with television than we are because we're literally every time TV goes left, YouTube goes right. Whether it's audience, device, format.
Does this mean that YouTube will not play a major role in the future merger of television and digital media? Is this what you mean?
Yeah. What I mean is that it's the content that succeeds on a platform like YouTube is mostly content made specifically for YouTube first, not for YouTube second or third. So it's a different format, different type of content. And when you have different type of content, I suddenly don't stop loving movies or TV shows. I watch those a lot, but I also watch a lot of other content on YouTube that I don't get on TV. So I look at what we do as complementary, because when you look at smart businesses don't go head on with big incumbents who are really powerful and have broad distribution. Smart businesses build businesses in area of opportunity, which we call white space. Nobody's really filling that, and you can super serve the underserved audiences. So there's a great need for yoga channel. You don't find it on TV, but you may find it on YouTube. Okay. So people go there. So we're looking at the white spaces and try to fill those.
And could you tell us a few words about the paying channels that YouTube is about to launch?
One of the great disadvantages that we have versus television, like television is so amazing, it's because it has two revenue streams, subscriptions and ads. Not all television channels, but a lot of programmers have two revenue streams. In the United States, it's like all of the television business is that way. And our content creators, the people who create content for YouTube, have been requesting of us another way to generate income in addition to advertising for years. So what we started to do is started to work on enabling a feature that allows them to start charging for some subset of their content or expansion of their content and learn how to get people to subscribe in addition to driving ads. There will be many failures in that. Hopefully there will be some successes. But what we wanted to make sure is that they have the opportunity to derive additional income. I spoke about the income driving importance of YouTube to content creators all around the world. I sort of feel that's our responsibility to help them do that. And if they manage to get subscribers, that it's great to get that recurring revenue stream. So it's something that we piloted a couple of months ago, and it's slowly rolling out. But I think it will take quite some time before it builds up into a sizable business.
Thank you very much, Robert. I suggest that we thank you.
Thank you.